What's up, man? We back. Got another reaction video. Um, Rollo Tomassi. Where was it? I just had it. Look at me fumbling the bag. Oh yeah, it was this one. All right.
This connection has it all.
I like Rollo Tomassi. He's the white Kevin Sam. He was in the sense of very educated in the field of relationships and the woman and man dynamic, and kind of being able to understand these things from a historical perspective, even though this feminist movement only been about 50, 60 years, they've been able to, like how I talk about us, we was able to see before technology boomed, and then after, they was kind of able to see some of the traditional values, and then how we went into modern partnership relationships and stuff like that. So they was able to see both kind of frames and dynamics, but that's why I like them, man, and they well researched in these type of conversations. And once again, people always be like, why you watch stuff like this? If you want to be good at anything, bro, you have to understand the dynamics that affects relationships. And these dynamics truly play relationships, whether you know it or not. These things are mostly entrenched in us because like we're computers and we get programmed. Feminist has been in, if you look at TV now, if it's not about glorifying the woman or saying, oh, the woman can do this, she can beat up, she's 145 pounds, but she can knock out a whole military force. Like, it's one of those type of, we're in that type of era where, yeah, we used to have that for men in a sense, but now we're in that sense of doing that with women, and it's every movie, every different thing, it has to be glorifying or idolizing a woman's dynamic in a sense. So, and that's been going on for 30 to 40 years, but it's been amped up and amplified through the last 10, 15 years. So it's in us regardless of whether we like it or not. And that's why it affects our relationship. It's been throughout our media for years.
For a living, it doesn't get better than.
So here's the ballad. I present to you the ballad of Clark Kent, and this is how it goes. Okay. When Lois Lane met Superman, he was fighting crime, could bend steel in his bare hands, stop locomotives, leap over tall buildings in a single bound. Shit. Superman could fly. Then one day he met Lois and swept her off her feet, rocked her world in the sack, and fell in love with her because that's what supermen do. After a year of this whirlwind, Lois starts to feel her relationship with Superman was lacking something. Why does he have to always be out there fighting crime, huh? Why does he always have to prove he's so macho? Does it threaten his ego? He really needs to get in touch with his feminine side. What about my needs? And why can't he just grow up and get a real job? I'm not getting any younger, you know. He's got some responsibilities to live up to. When am I going to see a ring? So
this goes into Patrice O'Neal's I got a boat and I can fish. And then once you get on the fish, you're like, why you still got a pole? Why you still got a boat? It was like, well, motherfucker, I'm a fisherman. And to me, where I would start off with this, like you said, this little essay or little, I don't know, whatever you call it. Where I would start is the options that Superman would have. The world would love Superman. Every woman would be falling out over Superman. So the fact that Lois Lane was the one that got his attention, Lois Lane was the one that was able to get him to settle down, a lot of times it's unreasonable and it's a fairy tale story. Because that man options, even if he does take you seriously, he's going to always have options. He's always going to be Superman. The world's going to always love him. There's going to be plenty of beautiful women that constantly wants him. And I say he may still always have you near and dear to his heart, but the fact that that they was just this monogamous couple, and if we really being honest, that's unrealistic.
Eventually, this wears down on Superman, and he submits to Lois's request or demands. After all, he should really grow up anyways, right? It's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do.
And then when he said Superman eventually acquiesces to the woman's needs, a lot of time a woman does that out of selfishness and not out of truly understanding what they really want out of men. So she really likes Superman and his bravado, his strength, everything he could do, lift and fly her across the world. But in order for her to basically keep him to herself, he can't be Superman no more. He got to be, in this sense, she start to become regular, because if he becomes Superman, she don't have attention no more. When he works a regular job, he has a schedule, and that schedule can make her happy because she knows she gets to spend time. But that becomes mundane, right? Because schedules become mundane. When he's Superman, he may leave in the middle of the night. When he's Superman, he may be in the middle of a date and gotta just jet out. That may be infuriating in the moment, but that unknown factor, or that it's right on the tip of I can't think of it. That sporadic energy that this man is giving you, you love, because it's surprising. You don't know what to expect, so it hits different. That's what makes women really get women really going. And so his natural lifestyle turns her on. Whether she knows it or not, his natural lifestyle turns her on because he's sporadic. He can do all different things. She can't just put a hand on or a finger on him, because anytime she got to schedule something, he's not there. And then he pops up when she don't expect him to be there, because he can do that. Like, it's like a true high school feeling relationship where you get butterflies and shit constantly. And women love that shit because they live through emotions. So they think in their head like, well, I want this all the time. I want to know when I'm getting this, because that would really make me feel good. That'll really make me feel secure. Like, and women love security, so you'll see why they try to do that. But in their own mind, they playing against them, because even though you love security, which that man is the biggest security blanket you can ever have, you want it into a sense where it becomes something you can kind of pinpoint and know, like I said, it becomes a schedule or something that you can, when you know you're gonna get it. But at that time, like I said, it becomes mundane, and we get into it. When it gets to mundane,
so Superman changes his name to Clark Kent. Superman was so male self-aggrandizing anyways. And he lands a job as a reporter at a great metropolitan newspaper. Clark begins wearing glasses, even though he can see x-rays and shoot lasers out of his eyes. He wears them because Lois says it makes him look distinguished, intellectual, and she likes them. Time goes on, and Lois and Clark Lois and Clark marry. 5 years into the marriage, Lois.
And another problem with this is you're not being yourself anymore. She's basically making you what she wants, but she already wanted you, so why is she now changing you into something else? That's like, you have to be careful of that. If you already have her, keep being yourself. Why would you start changing? If you start changing to everything she wants, that's when you start becoming this kiss ass. That's when you start becoming this pushover. Woman's always right. Like, you wearing glasses, you don't need glasses. You wearing styles of clothes that you really don't like to make you feel uncomfortable, but that's what her friends wear, and that's what, like, a low key, a nigga that she crush on, like, that's a little bit of his style. Like, no, be yourself, because it's like you already have her. You, like, being Superman was enough, so why would you start to change? Like, and men, you have to be firm in that. And I think a lot of times we start to negotiate our boundaries on what we want and don't want, and that becomes unattractive. Women like men that stand on their shit. Whether they call you a narcissist or not, usually when that women call men narcissists, it's really a lot of the time a compliment. So, because most of the time they around men that always tell them they're right, so to be around a man that doesn't, it's like, you motherfucker. But in the nice way.
Gets bored. Same old, just gets bored. Time goes on, and Lois and Clark marry. 5 years into the marriage, Lois gets bored. Same old. Clark is so mundane and unassuming. She longs for the days when he would fly and do that funny steel bending trick he used to do when they were dating. He hasn't.
Women are emotional. I'm not gonna say they sway with the wind. Some people say they sway like the wind, but they have a roller coaster of emotions. You have to be the solid one, because if you don't and you flow with her emotions, Like, you don't want to be on that roller coaster of life, I'm telling you. Because she's going to get back to a point where she was like, well, what? This is not the person I started dating. And it's a cycle. It's a cycle. I don't know what it is of like, you could say that's one of the things that keeps them kind of attracted to men, in the sense that they're able to like be so, I don't know. I don't want to get into that. It's a little weird, but I see it all the time. I see it all the time. And this is no different, but it's a weird dynamic, but they literally go back to what they used to want from you. Because that's initially what always turned them on. That sporadic behavior, you being Superman, initially what turned them on. But through whether it's emotions or through what society's been telling them that they should want, or what a man should be, or what a man should really do for a woman, which a lot of times that be bullshit and like pandering and pedestalizing women. She thought she wanted to be pedestalized, and now she look at this dude and like, bro, you're so weak. What happened to this super dude? And it's not that they're logically doing these things. It's just that they move through emotions and they emotional sway through, like I said, through society things, through their their age timeline. Like some, they go through different emotions in different phases at different age times in their life. Like, so it's weird. And men do as well, what they talk about midlife crisis and stuff like that. We really get into it. Every 10 years, I'm sure that if you could break it down, there's a way that you kind of flow through those 10 years. The middle years, you probably up on yourself. The beginning of the years, when you first get into the first 10 years, like when you're 11, 21, 31, 41, 51, you're up on yourself. You may have a little bit of doubt because you don't know how you're going to be heading into those years. When you get into the middle, you're probably most optimistic. When you get to the end, you might have a little bit of doubt again because it's like, oh shit, I'm getting old. I'm at the end of this cycle of life, because every 10 years is obviously a cycle. We go through cycles. So women go through those cycles a little bit more, and that's why they more refer to the moon and things like that. So if we get into astrology and stuff like that, there's a whole nother different dynamic we can talk about, but we're not going to do that because that's what y'all start calling me crazy.
Done it for, hasn't done any of that for so long. Not because he can't, but because he's afraid she'll get upset with him and not put out that evening if he gets cocky with her. In fact, she's not putting out even half as much as she used to in these days. Clark just doesn't arouse her as much as he once did, and she just can't seem.
Bro, I've met so many men, young men too, that talk about, oh, we don't really be having sex like that, and it's like, bro, that's the last thing I thought would happen when you get married. But the mundaneness, the start to change and like acquiesce and not be your true self, like dynamics start to change, and that leads to a lack of arousal because that's not initially what got her attracted to you in the first place. And we have to be careful how to maintain our masculineness. Because you got to think, when you're around a woman constantly, you start to pick up on her feminine nature just like how she starts to pick up on your masculine natures. You have to be careful not to take on feminine energy. She's going to take on your masculine energy because that's just, you're supposed to be the leader. Like, she's going to follow your lead, but she's still supposed to maintain enough feminine energy where y'all not competing, because if she starts to become too masculine, starts to become too like you, she starts competing and jousting a little too much and it get annoying. So she still needs to be feminine in her own way. But it's understandable for her to pick up some of your masculine tendencies when she's following you. That's just kind of how the dynamic of relationships work. But you have to be careful to maintain your masculine frame, because if you don't, you become less attractive because you start to become feminine. Women don't want feminine men. But through relationships, they beat and batter us to be more feminine, be more emotional, to listen to our feelings more. That's what they tell us. And if we don't, that's when we're the narcissist that's attractive, or at least every woman that calls you narcissist is not necessarily attracted to you, but they're at least giving you a compliment. Whether they don't know what to do, but trust me, it's a compliment. So yeah, you have to. That's the biggest thing with why Clark Kent start to lose attraction. Like, you start to pick up those feminine ways. You start to be more sensitive. You start to listen to her feelings more and not stay as logical and sound in your own understanding and beliefs. And that starts to sway the relationship into a different dynamic. And that's when things start to change, and that's why divorce rate's so high, because men are taught to be more soft, and or women are taught to badger men with feelings, and if your man doesn't have feelings, there's something wrong with him and stuff like that. And honestly, that leads to a lot of unhappiness when the men start to go down that path.
To put her finger.
A lot of sexlessness starts to form in those relationships.
The reason for it. Then, one night, Lois ran into a wealthy fellow by the name of Bruce Wayne. At a charity mixer, Bruce was dark, mysterious, and in shape. He couldn't fly, but he
mysterious, like I said, sporadic. Women love the mysteriousness. Women love the sporadic. Women, they may not say they love surprises, but women love surprises because it gives them a certain, like, it gives a certain reaction in them that's just so bubbly that either they love it or they hate it. So they love it so much that they hate it.
Made up for that in so many
they still
ways.
Love it.
He fought crime. He wore a mask and spoke in short, purposeful sentences, never mincing words. He didn't wear glasses. That was so retro. And he came and went at the time of his pleasing, not hers. He sent tingles down Lois's spine and other places she hadn't felt.
He came at, so what he said, he came for sexual interest when he pleased and not hers. So that creates this sporadic energy, because if you're going off her when she wants to have sex and stuff like that, women are moody, women are emotional. It may not happen as much, but if you're still aggressive, not aggressive, because people take that out of hand, but if you're still dominant and you still do the right things and create sexual interest while the little slick things you say are kissing and touching on her in the ways that she like, because you know women all have their different ways that they like to be touched on. So if you do those things and get her going, like instead of waiting for her to give it to you, like that's more attractive to her as well. Like being dominant for a change instead of being waiting on it. And women like, oh shit. That's when women be like, oh, he can't tell none of the hints. Why something must be wrong with him. He can't see none of the hints. It'd be the most subtlest hints in the world. But as a man, you better learn to figure out them subtle hints. Whether it's her curling her hair, whether it's her batting them eyes, whether it's the certain conversation she may have, whether it's her starting to be a little too aggressive because you're like, oh, I see what's going on. You trying to get punished, huh? Huh. So they do their little different things that they do to like show that they ready. But as a man, if you're not savvy to that, you're gonna miss those cues, and then they're gonna lead to being more frustrated because women not gonna come out right and say it. So a lot of times you have to be the initiator, and that's the same with when you're trying to first talk to a woman. You have to be initiator. Men, you have to be the initiators. There's a rare chances that you don't have to be, and that you better be top echelons and stuff like that, where there's looks, in shape, or money. But if you're not, you have to be initiated. And it's the same with sex. So the difference between Superman, he started to wait. He started to listen to her feelings and stuff like that instead of being like, I know you tired, but hey, you can be tired after. And she like, you know what, I can. That's what he should have said instead of being like, oh, okay, well, maybe we'll try tomorrow, babe. Mwah, good night. And she like, oh, this pussy. Like, oh, he folded so easy. And then but Batman Batman says some shit like, oh nah, you tired, you gotta go to work in the morning. Like, well, why you come over here then? Like, you start questioning, you start putting the pressure on her, and then she eventually like, you know what, you all right. I did come over here at 1 o'clock in the morning. I gotta be up at 7. I'm playing, and women play games, and like she said, he said Batman mysterious. Batman, he do what he want. He'll push the issue in a way that's still obviously attracted to a woman and not like forcing it.
At a charity mixer, Bruce was dark, mysterious, and in shape. He couldn't fly, but he made up for that in so many other ways. He fought crime. He wore a mask and spoke in short, purposeful sentences, never mincing words. He didn't wear glasses. That was so retro. And he came and went at the time of his pleasing, not hers.
You see how he said that's so retro with the glasses? Because, like I said, it's phases. Women follow trends a lot of times too. And you don't want to get caught up in the women trends because a lot of times that's through fashion. A lot of times that's through some woman gossip channels or magazines or some shit like that they watched or got on social media and seen. So when she told you to put on the glasses, that's what was attractive for men. Not only that it might not have been your look because you wasn't already wearing glasses, you did some shit and switched it up. Now the phases and trends have changed, and now you look like a dweeb because you're still wearing glasses. Like, that's the problem with it. It's like they follow the ways and trends of things. So a lot of times you got to just be you. And of course, if you want to wear glasses, you can wear glasses. And even if you after the trend ended, it's still fine. But it got to be you. Don't be doing it just because she wanted to, because that was just her following the trend. And when that trend dies, you're still wearing the shit, and now you look lame.
He sent tingles down Lois's spine and other places she hadn't felt tingles in a while when he began to see her and date her. The weeks went by until after a 60-hour work week at the Daily Planet. Swanky apartments don't rent cheap, you know. Clark made his way home on the subway, since flying had been out of the question for a while now, and picked up a dozen roses to surprise Lois, though he tended to put he thought she tended to put out more when he showed his feminine side. So when he got back to the apartment, now, however, it was poor Clark who got the surprise.
You start thinking like a woman. Maybe if I do this, bro, you just have to be aggressive and initiate and let her know what you want. Like, you've been with this woman for years. Why are you tiptoeing around that subject? Being more fair. Oh, I'm going to get her flowers because that's going to do it. That's what I seen on romance movies. That ain't what necessarily gets women going. It's really not.
Surprise upon discovering Bruce Wayne bending Lois over the kitchen table when he opened the door. Bruce promptly toweled off his junk while Clark, slack-jawed with horror, watched speechless. How could you? After all we meant to each other, Clark began to cry as Bruce excused himself from the now estranged couple. Clark was used to crying a lot now because it showed his sensitivity. What could you have possibly seen in that guy? Clark shrieked like a schoolgirl. Well, I couldn't help myself, Lois said indifferently. Batman is a superhero. That's the ballad of Clark Kent, which is actually kind of pertinent to today's topic. So what happens a lot of times is guys will say, well, I lost the frame, Rollo. How do I get the frame back? Or we used to have such hot sex when we were single. Or I was so much more alpha, whether they were or they weren't. The impression is that they were. And what happens is that over time, the guy that she fell in love with, the guy who caused, like we were saying before, the guy who caused sexual anxiety, urgency, the guy that she wanted to bang, that guy turns into what he thinks she expects of him. You need to do the dishes. You need to be more feminine. You need to express yourself. You need to cry. It's okay for guys to cry. You know, how emotionally invested do you think the guy who got cheated on in that video was with that chick, thinking that that's the rules that we're going to play by, but those rules don't exist. And that, again,
and when he said a guy in the video, he referring to that lady that was holding her legs on the couch or the chair, and he was asking her about why she cheated, and she was like, I felt bad, so I wanted to act like a whore or something like that. And he was like, how emotionally invested do you think that guy was that was questioning her? Because it's like, you know, he obviously cares if he's trying to get all these details and trying to figure out this and that. And he's really just trying to get to, like, why would you do this when he cares about you so much? But he's not getting the answer he wants. But he said, just think about how emotional he was being with her, or how connected and how involved he was with their relationship, and it still went wrong for him in a sense. Like, he lost his frame, he lost his masculinity, and it led to, he may not ever had it, and it led to that woman stepping out and trying to go find something masculine because she got tired of dealing with a feminine man.
The Ballad of Clark Kent. I hate to use allegory and metaphor on any internet media because people always take it stupidly literally. But what that means is this, is that you are Superman in the beginning and you gradually turn into Clark Kent until another superhero comes along. You're never going to watch Invincible the same way. You're never going to watch Justice League after that story the same way. But
yeah, it's Patrice O'Neal has a little thing about it. It's like women try to beat you down in a sense because they want to kind of compete with you in a sense, but that be a lot of that masculine energy. So a lot of time after they have worn you down with games and feminized you and stuff like that, they ready to move on to the next man because whether they know what they did or not, they're no longer attracted to you. So now they're going to have to go do that to another man and another man. And essentially keep leapfrogging until they find a man that never lose that masculine frame. And then they most likely could be in a relationship with that person for a long amount of time. But the problem is relationships is men are told to be softer, men are told to be more feminine. And not only are you told that, naturally in relationships, if you're not aware about keeping your masculine energy, like you're gonna be more feminine around, like you're gonna start to pick up more feminine traits because like you stay with this person. Like she starts to become emotional and moody. It's like, well, now she puts you in emotional and moods because like you don't understand women. So now you every time she's in those feelings, you allow yourself to get in the feelings, and you don't know why this is happening every day in a sense. So yeah, it happens to a lot of men because it's something that happens naturally in relationships if you don't understand women nature, and women don't understand their nature because it's very complex, honestly, and no one's really likes to be honest about it because if you're honest about it, that's when you become a misogynist and stuff like that. So it's hard to be honest about it, and if you are, you're going to be shamed, and it's not going to be a mainstream topic. So people like Rollo, Tomassi, and Kevin Samuels makes it somewhat of a mainstream topic and is educating people. That's why I like these videos so much. But I'm gonna let them wrap it up and see if you got anything else to say. But yeah, men in relationships, it's nothing wrong with being in a relationship. Maybe I would suggest like getting 2 bedrooms where sometimes you can sleep in your rooms or not even sleep. Y'all can sleep together, but y'all have separate rooms to be able to do y'all thing as far as like she's on her phone or on a computer and you on your computer. Just have time. Like men have man caves for a reason. They can go do manly shit, be a man, and women can still be in their house having their feminine essence and stuff like that, but I can still be funking it up or doing whatever I want in this room and having as much fun as I can. And it's a woman free zone in a sense. It's a feminine free zone. That's why like these concepts has kind of been around for a minute, especially when we get into like the modern home dynamic of the last probably like 100 years or I guess 80 years. Men have had man caves. Why? Whether it's in their garage, whether it's it's somewhere where a man can go be a man, where he goes to the bar with his friends consistently. But a man has to do manly things in a barbershop. Like men have had these spots because you need it to keep your masculine frame. But I feel like as masculinity gets demonified more and more and more, you see less of these things being as productive because it's either you don't have as much of it or it's not glorified as much. Like you don't see people talk about man caves as much anymore, which that's really a healthy outlet that most people should have. Like, well, where's the woman cave? The woman cave is the house. You decorate this whole motherfucking thing. I get with the wedding, you did it. You did everything was you picked out. You picked the location. You picked the clothes. You did all this. Yeah, we're involved, but we ain't getting into no fight about the type of colors and the feelings of why this color makes you feel. And this is the thing you always wanted to do because it makes you feel like a princess. We're not getting into them arguments with you. Same with the house. This is the house you always wanted. I'm not about to get into it about the things that you want in the drapes or the theme of the house. I always wanted a house that was 4-story with land. I got that. Now the insides and stuff, I don't care. I'm not arguing with you. You got it. So a lot of times when we talk, where's the woman cave? You designed this house. This is all about you. So that's why men needed those things and why men should keep having those things and seek to have those things because it keeps the masculine frame. And I think it was like I said, Kevin Samuels and Rollo Tomassi kind of brings out that type of information. Like I think it'll be more potent and powerful, and it'll start to be more talked about as far as what these different outlets that's healthy outlets for men. And a woman shouldn't be like, oh, why you spend so much time in there? Because if I'm always up under you, I'm no longer mysterious. That's why. At least when I'm in this room, you're wondering what the fuck I'm doing instead of knowing what the fuck I'm doing when I'm sitting under you. That alone may create some attraction in this motherfucking house. So it's just little things like that. Like women like to wonder. Women like to be curious because it gets them. women get bored, so they need shit to do. Like men do too, but we play with ourselves and we play on the game. We don't let our mind. We try not to let our mind go deep down through deep rabbit holes and wonder. So we sometimes we may distract ourselves. But that alone, being in a room, I always wanted to go in there. She's like, well, why he always want to spend time in there? Is it me? Is it something I'm doing? Why he don't want to be with me? Why he can't be up under me? Maybe I should do this. And now they thinking about how to get you to spend more time with you. But don't give up the key fact that you got to keep giving yourself a little bit of distance. Because now she's like, well, how can I get him to be under me more? But you still have to be able to understand, like, space is a valuable thing with relationships. Why? Because she's able to stay feminine. She's not always under you, learning your tendencies, learning the things you talk about. You're not forcing her to learn sports. You're not forcing her to learn boxing. You're not forcing her to learn shit that she already kind of grew up doing. So that kind of keeps her feminine. You can watch that shit in your own room. She can watch her feminine shit in her room. Like, you don't got to be watching all the love and hip-hop, all her romance shit, because now you getting into your feelings and watching this shit like, oh, that's what she really wants. Like, that's what they like on TV, but that ain't what they like in real life. Like, so, like, you get caught up watching that shit too much. So it goes both ways. Like, y'all both can have y'all separate rooms, whether it's just you have a 2-bedroom if y'all single or no kids or whatever, or y'all got a house where a man cave and then she can also just stay in her room and sleep in the bed, because you know women just like to be in their bed in their own comfort. So you leave, you let her have that, and you go find your own space. That creates attraction. And not always up under each other. There's different things that you have to do to create attraction. But you see these relationships where people are suffocating each other and they're in that puppy love state, and that's when things get a little too merged, and y'all can't give each other space. You can't see your friends no more. They can't see their friends no more. Things start to get out of whack. You don't have a life outside of each other, so now y'all always under each other. Like, things can kind of get out of whack. So being able to go out with your friends and your woman, let your woman get jealous, let your woman get upset. Come home, fuck the shit out of her, because she passionate about some shit. Like, that creates attraction. Obviously, you're not going around fucking. You just going around with your friends, but you being out, you always want to go with his friends. Even though you only go out once a month, you only want to go with his friends. That alone created some attraction. Like, but yeah, it's little things that you have to understand, but you have to have a life for yourself. She has to have a life for herself, so she don't want to always be up under you as well. But, yeah, you want to be able to have your own life as a man where you already have a functioning schedule, and you find ways to fit time in there where it's not mundane, where you find ways to be sporadic throughout that. You find ways to stay mysterious. You find ways to keep your distance but still show your love and actually be there. I ain't say playing stupid games because they'll win stupid prizes, but being mysterious in the way of, like, just showing up into the job and maybe bringing her some food, or just showing up, or taking her to somewhere that she didn't expect to go, or something like that, or just doing random things that maybe she might not expect. You don't have to be nothing serious. It's just like dealing with your time, and if you're not always under her, that alone is mysterious, and you're not telling her everything you do and are planning on doing for her, that can be mysterious. So it ain't even have to be something crazy, but yeah, understanding when you have your own functioning life and you're not just swallow up under each other, that's going to lead to more attraction as well. A lot of people love that growing up in that being all up on top of each other phase. That works for a few months. That maybe work for the first year, but after a while, that starts to create a lack of sex or a lack of interest and a lack of, like I said, spontaneity or whatever. But like I said, let him finish.
You know, that's the perfect is boring. That's the analogy for perfect is boring. You can be Superman, and women will still say, "Is he the best I can do?" Because you turn yourself. She doesn't turn. Well, maybe she does. It inspires it, but you turn yourself. You gaslight yourself into Clark Kent. You need to understand. I'm going to give you some actionable advice at the end of here, which is you need to remember women's nature and men's nature, and and when you hear bullshit like that, like the counselor here at the end here on the roommates, when you hear bullshit like that, you need to be able. Your red pill lens needs to be finely attuned to read that and understand that that's bullshit when it's presented to you. So.
That's the lady he was referring to in the video. He said, isn't that man probably emotionally invested? But even when you talk about Superman gaslighting himself to Clark Kent, why would he ever become Clark Kent? To fit in with humans? to fit into society, that's just peer pressure. Those things alone, as a man, if you're great, if you're creative, if you're ahead of your time, you're just gonna fit in or trailblaze. As Clark Kent, nigga, you trailblaze. I mean, as Superman, you trailblaze. But when you start trying to fit in, you become less attractive because you're not the same person that you were. You're not being creative. You're not being trailblazing. You're not being passionate. You're fitting in. You're less attractive to the world as Clark Kent. And that's the same with any other person in their own personal life. If you have something and you're scared to show that because the society may say certain things, whether it's Dave Chappelle, whether it's anybody that has a certain Kevin Samuels, Red Pill, you have to be able to speak your truth. And if you don't, then you just like everyone else. So of course you're going to be less attracted to a woman. You're less attracted to society. You're less attracted to anything. You fit in like a clog. So it makes sense. But even for a person like Superman, why would you even try to fit into society? That's not what makes you super. That's not what gives you all these options and connections. And Superman, you know the leaders of every nation. You have the choice of all women. You have the choice of doing whatever you want, but you're gonna fit in? Like, that's weird. Of course you want to become less attractive. So, men, like he said, be aware of holding your masculine frame because it's very important to keeping your relationship attractive. Same with women. If you're a woman in a relationship, it's very important in keeping your feminine frame and understanding some things you don't need to absorb. Like, you don't have to do everything the man does. You don't have to watch everything he watches. Saying, like, hey, you go do that, I'll go do this. We don't have to always be up under each other because I want to stay attracted to you. From a man and a woman perspective. It may be a little harder for a woman because they get in their feelings, and when they really love you, they want to be up under you, but then they up under you too much, they start nitpicking and stuff like this, and there's a lot of things that go wrong with that. So you need your time alone because it creates a ongoing passion, whether you understand it or not. That's why, like I said, those man caves and things have been around forever. So it's no different. It's no different. That's why Homer always go to the bar. Like, he ain't doing nothing really maniacal. He ain't really fucking with no other women. But he out, he chilling, he doing him. That alone is attractive to a woman. He doing him. And that, like, she's attracted to you. So you doing you is attractive. And the fact that she gets to share your time is attractive. Now, when she starts to dictate all your time, it becomes less attractive. When she with you all the time, you're not doing you. You're doing y'all, you're doing her, most likely. Not in the sense of a sexual way, but like I said, when she creates everything in the house, most likely you following her lead. Because she don't want to watch that, and you want to have some sex. So you don't want to watch what she want to watch because you want to make sure she good. Instead of just saying, you know what, well, if I can't watch this, I'm going to another room. But because you don't want to create no tension like that either, because you're like, oh, I don't. Just do you. Do you and do you comfortably, and I'm telling you, it gets you a long way to keep the dancer relationship, the fire relationship going. So, hope y'all guys understand that. But that's it, man. Shout out to Rollo Tomassi for being so great with these type of topics. Deuces.